be sharing how I'm getting my Mustang SB ready for her first lameness exam. So unfortunately, she still hasn't been feeling quite right. She had a bit of a soreness soon after I got her home. Even I saw it on day one, and it's been something that's gotten better and then started to get worse and then better again. And so I was working with my farrier on trying to get her hoofs back on track, and she's about due for another shoeing. We were able to get shoes on her, although she was worried about the sounds of the shoes being nailed on, which is pretty normal for their first time. But she's about due again. Her hoofs are looking a lot better than they used to. We treated her thrush. She had really bad thrush, and she had possibly some bruising going on from some rocks in her feet. And so she was definitely having some issues with those. And since then, she's been able to have her teeth worked on by a dentist, and she had a chiropractor work on her, and she was really good with that. And we just have not been able to figure out exactly what's going on with her. So it's been something that we are trying to help her in every way we can, and the next step is going to be to have a vet look at her. So this video is going to cover some ways that I am getting my Mustang ready for her vet exam, and it might hopefully be helpful for anybody else who has a feral or relatively unhandled horse that can at least halter or lead and have all their feet handled, and get that horse ready for a vet exam. Now, if the horse is having a life-threatening emergency, you might not have time to train, but because this isn't something that's threatening her immediately, it's something where I have time to train her so that I can have a helpful exam where the vet and everybody stays safe, and we can actually help find out what's wrong with her. So I also want to preface this video that this is currently being filmed in January, so she's about 2.5 months out of the wild now, and the recent videos I've been uploading of her were filmed in November, so I'm behind on uploading, and that's just because it takes a lot of time. But anything that I've been posting is a little bit older, so she's come farther since then. I'm just behind on uploading. And if there's any confusion, all the dates of when things were filmed are at the start of every video. So you'll see it'll say a date in November, that means that's when that was filmed, even though I'm uploading it in January. Some of the first things that I've been working on with her is with her hooves. Now, she's very good about having her hooves handled, but like I said, she was nervous about the hammer nailing her shoes on. And so I've been working on getting her used to that sound, and she's gotten a lot better. But I'll share, I basically took a boring old hammer, and you can do this if your horse doesn't have shoes on, but you think that she's being a little slow to pick up this way. But if you think they might need shoes, you can take a metal shoe and just hold it on your horse's hoof. Start small. Here, she moves her leg a little bit. Here, let's set her foot down so she can. That way she can balance. You're fine. Still sitting on it. So it's not required that your horse be able to stand in cross ties or stand tied if you can hold the lead rope, or have someone else hold your horse. Because another big part of this, if you have a feral or wild horse, you need to get them used to having two people handle them. So if you have a friend, especially if they're experienced with Mustangs or feral horses, and they can also meet your horse and help you train them at the same time, you can do it where you're holding them and your friend starts doing things to the horse, and that gets them ready for having a vet work on them. Because that is worrying for a lot of horses, having two people at once. So that's something I've had to do with her. Okay. Great, and then I can put it between my legs. And I can put it up as if it were on a stand. been working just a little bit every day. Your Mustang being able to have their hooves handled. So then I have this balance pad, and this can help get her used to things going by her legs if she needs to stand for any x-rays, which she's pretty good. She doesn't mind even if it touches her legs. I've done this before, but she doesn't mind. And it's also good to get them used to putting their foot on something in case they need to put their foot on a block for x-rays. So if you have a block of wood or anything that they can stand on, that can work as well. So teaching her to stand on something did take a little bit of practice, because you have to get them to realize that they can trust it with their weight. The one thing I did was just hold her shoulders here to tell her, no, wait, you can shift your weight over here. And she figured out that she could do that. So her lameness is in this leg, so this is what I focused on the most, but it's also important to do things on both sides and with the back feet as well. Good at this point. She's 2 months out of the wild, but she does get worried with having 2 people around her, so that's why I want to make her extra good about everything when it's just me, so that she'll be as prepared as she can be for that. Start incrementally with that. We'll of course have to hold it longer if they're getting x-rays taken, but that's a start. Another important thing is hoof testers, and SB knows what these are, but if there's any potential issues in the hoof, this is what a vet or a farrier will use to check their hoof. So she'll let me stand like this. Won't. You can start to get them used to hoof testers. With one hand, you just probably won't be able to do very much. But you can get them used to the sight and the feeling of it squeezing on their hoof. Even though you might not be able to get any information, that's what the vet's for. But she'll let me do this, so. things that your vet might do. So then another thought was, well, what if the vet has to sedate her or nerve block something, and I can't exactly prepare her for needles myself, but she has been able to be sedated for the dentist before, and she was good for that at least. So you might have to get the horse used to having alcohol racks on them, which would prepare an area for a needle, and that might be especially hard if it's their legs. So another thing I'll do is I trust her. She's pretty safe, but a more feral horse, you might not be able to crouch down beside, but you can get them used to you crouching down and doing things in a little bit different ways, because a vet or a vet tech that's working on your horse might approach them from a different angle than the angle you always approach your feral horse from, and you have to get them used to that. So what I've been doing is just basically wiping her hooves down and a little bit on her head with a wet rag. It's just got water on it and just getting her used to that feeling. And be crouching and touching her legs on the other side, because you can't expect everybody to creep around your horse. And it can be a bad habit for some of us Mustang trainers to keep creeping around our horses a little bit longer than we maybe need to. And so I'm not going to crouch down by her back legs, even though I trust her. But that is one more thing you can get them used to, because some horses might not like the feeling. Especially if it's a little chilly out. And well, once again, I can't prepare her for an actual needle. I can make a similar motion as the vet, where typically tap, 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 stick. And I'm not sticking her very hard with this whole thing. I'm not trying to hurt her. Just prepare her for maybe potentially uncomfortable feeling. So then I've done a lot of this with her, but you might want to go slower with the horse that's learning this for the first time. But I can poke her with it anywhere on her leg, and she knows to keep her leg down. Even though she doesn't like it, I'm not poking very hard. It's more of like an annoying thing. But she knows she's supposed to keep her leg down when I do that. That's another important thing, is your horse shouldn't think that every time you touch down their leg, they have to pick it up, because it's important for vets to feel their legs. They might have to feel their tendons and their joints, and your horse shouldn't be automatically picking their feet up. It should take a specific cue to get them to pick their feet up, and then you should be able to manipulate the leg in different ways. This joint more, keep pulling forward, moving side to side. Your vet might have to do different things to check all their different joints. So those are some good things to get your horse used to. Same thing over here. Tap, 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 and then poke. Not very hard. Oftentimes, when they have to nerve block legs, they might do it facing this way. There's a few other general things that would probably like your horse to be good about. One of the things is like looking in their mouth. I get all my horses used to me looking at their teeth. She's already been worked on by the dentist, and she's pretty good about her mouth anyway. So it's good to work on your horse being able to open their mouth and have it looked inside. She's pretty good about all that. You probably want to prepare them to have their temperature taken. I don't think that's going to be an issue for SB. Yeah. And they should be pretty comfortable with you touching them with both hands, touching them all over. And that can take some time if you've got a feral horse. So that's why I thought I'd make this video to help people think about some things that they could prepare their horse for. After working on all the things I typically do with her in the wash rack, I took her outside to do a little bit of practice on lunging and jogging in hand. I don't do this very often with her because she doesn't need to be exerting herself, but just enough so that I know that she can safely do it to present to the vet. So I just had her walk a nice quiet circle, and then I asked her for a little jog circle. Again, I don't want her to exert herself too much, but I just wanted enough movement so that I know she can jog to show the vet. This is her good direction, this is where she's a bit more comfortable, and so she was a bit reluctant to trot, which is understandable. I also wasn't giving her a whole lot of energy to work with because, again, I didn't want her thinking that she needed to move too fast. But it's really important that your horse can safely lunge and respond to the halter and know all of the cues. So this is where she got a bit exuberant. She's had a little bit of pent up energy because she hasn't been exercising and doing anything. So she did a beautiful, soft little canter. She was responding to the halter. She wasn't trying to bolt or take off away from me. She was just trying to let out her energy. And so that was all I needed. You can see, even in those brief few trot steps, she is just not comfortable yet. So teaching your horse to jog in hand could be a whole video in and of itself, but the gist of it is I use a fence as a guideline, and I use my sending cues from when I was lunging her to send her forward, and then I follow her, and then eventually build up to jogging with her in hand. And so you can see just a little bit of that process in here. But this wasn't her first time. I've already taught her. I was just giving her a bit of a refresher. Another thing I'm preparing her for is flexions, and so I'm just picking up her leg and holding it. I'm not trying to flex anything, but then I set it down and jog her. And that can weird out some horses, so that is one good thing for them to know how to do. And if you have someone with you, no one was around today, but Elisa and Megan have been helping me train her and get her used to other people. And so if you have somebody else handy, you can have them hold your horse while you hold the leg up, and then when you set their leg down, they jog off the horse. This helps get them used to having a vet or a vet tech handle your horse. Again, I don't do this a whole lot. I don't do it every day, and I don't drill it because she doesn't need to be exercising right now. You can see she's not quite right, and that's why I'm trying to prepare her for the vet so that we can help her to be as happy and healthy as she possibly can be. Another thing to practice if you're trailering your horse to the vet or just in general is trailer loading. I could make a whole video on this, so I'm not going to be giving any trailer loading advice here, but it's really important for you to work on it before you actually need it, because if your first time trying to load your Mustang is when you're trying to make an appointment and worried about being late, it's going to add a lot of stress and pressure on you and pressure on the horse, and it's not going to be a good experience. And so you should try to practice this before you actually need it, if at all possible. I ran out of time to film an outro, but thank y'all very much for watching. I hope that there was some useful information in this video for anybody who owns a feral horse. Even if your horse doesn't have any health concerns and you're not planning on calling the vet anytime soon, in case something comes up, it's a good idea to always be prepared. If you think of anything else that's good to prepare a horse for, make sure to drop that information in the comments below. That could be some super useful advice. Well, thank y'all for watching, and hopefully we find out some good news.